What's up, IGN? Joshua Yale here with Robert Kirkman here at Skybound HQ to talk about some comics and a little bit of the TV show for Walking Dead.
A little bit.
First, we're going to start with the Walking Dead comic, and this is full spoilers. So if you're not caught up, go read them up, come back, watch this interview. So
hold on, I have to mentally remind myself what issues are out and what issues aren't out, so I don't spoil things that aren't out yet.
Might get a surprise a spoiler here.
But I'm worried I'm going to slip up. I should be okay.
We'll edit you out. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But the first thing I want to ask is, with All Out War, I feel like one character that just needed to die was Negan.
Yeah.
And he didn't. That was a big surprise for a lot of people.
You can get what you want.
So what was the decision by to let him live?
Well, I mean, one, there's a lot more. Like, a lot of people, we get letters and they're like, what are you talking about? Negan's story was over. Like, you've messed up by not killing him. And it's like, no, you don't know. Like, Negan's got a lot of story. There's a lot more coming up with Negan. So yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that guy's going to be in the book for a while.
Okay.
Possibly, but I don't want to be too definitive. But no, I mean, it was a pivot moment for Rick Grimes, you know, who is our main character, and I think that him making that decision to not kill the guy who deserved to die, you know, sent a message to the community, and that's something that we're seeing in books now. That was really the defining moment where Rick Grimes became, to a certain extent, this mythical figure that everyone in all these communities look up to, because he was the guy that said, look, I'm bringing civilization back, and we're going to start now, and we're going to punish this guy. We're going to punish this guy civilly, and we're not going to murder people anymore. And so, you know, it's more about changing the world, and so that's why Negan had to live.
Yeah, and you've changed the world by doing the time jump, and we're seeing civilization come back. But the most interesting thing is that we're getting these, I don't know what you're doing, but there's this talking zombies, or are we facing a new evolved zombie threat?
We're not. I'll spoil. This issue's going to be out before this. The issue comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
That reveals all that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to cut this part out or
no. Okay. That was a big question.
But do you want to go read that issue right now? And then
yeah, could we? No, it's okay. So that's not.
No, it's
something else
yeah. I'll just tell you. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it. Did I ruin this entire interview? Let's make this as awkward as possible.
Let's go.
No, it's people wearing dead human skin to cover.
Okay, that was a theory.
So there's a new group out there that is just a group of, you know, absolute savages that are, you know, kind of the counterbalance to the group that Rick has now found himself the leader of. So there's a new conflict on the horizon, and you know, gonna go into some interesting places.
Okay,
so there are talking zombies, kind of, but there are human beings inside of them that are not dead. So, yeah.
No, that was a theory that's been heard, but I thought it was more interesting to have talking zombies. But no, I'm sure what you have is also going to be pretty good.
I like playing with the audience a little bit, but I would never radically alter the mythology that much.
Okay, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Maybe they'll sprout wings someday. I'm not ruling it out. Issue 200, they could be shooting lasers out.
You heard it here. You know, the TV show is getting a spin-off. Will the comic also be getting a spin-off?
No, I mean, there's that I think goes to the fact that the TV show and the comic are different animals. I mean, I actually like the idea of there only being one very small lens through which we get to experience this world through, but the television show, I think, you know, it's kind of fun to explore, you know, different ways to tell these stories, and I think that the spinoff is going to actually, in a sense, enhance the viewing experience of both shows in a way that I can't really get into, but possibly I already said too much. But I think companion show really is the best way to describe it, just because it is going to be a really great companion piece that you know, adds to the overall tapestry of the experience, and will, in a sense, change your perspective of, you know, how you view you know, the original show. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Cool, very cool. And I want to switch gears, talk about Invincible. Again, this is full spoilers, so, you know,
I might even spoil things for this guy.
You know, how long have you been planning for Robot to take over the world?
I mean, you know, the story evolved in the telling of it, but it was something that was planned. You know, when I was still working out the whole Robot and Monster Girl following the Flaxens into their dimension. I knew that that was going to lead to, you know, the big storyline of them living in that dimension for thousands of years, and that that would change Robot in a way that would lead to him eventually taking over the world.
Mm-hmm. And he had to make a lot of personal sacrifices.
6 years or so. It was a while.
Yeah. Wow. You know, he made a lot of personal sacrifices to like, get to where he is. Are you like really interested in making him a sympathetic villain?
I mean, I think he is a sympathetic villain, even though he is doing like completely horrible things. But what I'm trying to do with Robot is basically like he's a good guy who wants to do good, but his intelligence outweighs his compassion. And so he's a character that has compassion and completely recognizes, you know, what's right and wrong, but he is so intelligent that that wins outright. And if you think about it, a lot of compassionate things aren't necessarily the smartest things to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think he still is a good guy, and there, you know, certainly will be some good things that happen to the world now that he is in charge. But you know, there's some pretty dark stuff coming, you know, I just think it'll be fun seeing somebody, you know, doing that. You know, doing the smart thing at all times, regardless of whether it's the right thing.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of dark stuff, a little more serious here, but in issue 110, there was a very controversial rape scene.
Yes.
And was there some sort of like larger commentary you were trying to make by putting that in there?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I'm always trying to, you know, I have a daughter now, and so there's certainly different, like, things that I'm noticing that I never really noticed before I had a daughter, because, you know, you don't really recognize these things, I guess, if it's not really in your face. But, like, my daughter will sometimes say, I'll say, hey, you want to go see this movie? And she'll say, is there a girl in it? And I'm like, okay, that's something my son has never said. You know, he's never said, yeah, I want to go see that movie. Are there boys in it? You know, and that's kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the inherent sexism in our entire world, which is you know, a terrible thing. And so, you know, with Invincible, I guess I was trying to, you know, turn the tables a little bit, because I mean, to a certain extent, rape has become a trope of superhero comics. And with Invincible, I'm always trying to shine a light on, you know, just the ridiculous tropes that have emerged in superhero comics. And that's a big one. You know, just the fact that, you know, that's just like you know, like they push the rape button every now and then to make a story exciting or dramatic or whatever. And so it was just an attempt to kind of do that in a different way. There's going to be some pretty big ramifications that come from that, and a lot of, you know, big character-defining moments that will come from that storyline. So it's certainly going to be a very important moment in Invincible's life that will have ramifications for many, many years in the series. And so in that respect, I hope that we're, you know, doing that material justice. But it's very, you know, it's a minefield dealing with these kind of issues in a superhero comic where everything is so inherently ridiculous. But I feel like it's a risk we're willing to take, and hopefully it'll all work out.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, that's amazing hearing that your daughter has influenced how you've written your comics. Would you ever think of doing a comic, you know, marketed towards like girls, like women?
Yeah, no, I'm developing a few things like that. I don't know. My dance card is frustratingly full at the moment, so it has been pushing things back, but that's something that I definitely want to kind of focus on a little bit moving forward, so we'll see.
Cool, very cool. I want to move to Outcast, which is by far my favorite comic that you've ever written, so which is like saying a lot. And you know, like, with Outcast, it's still early, but you've been developing the structure of the story, and I noticed that we've got now Luke has this ability to talk to demons. The comic's about demonic possession, if you haven't read it, brand new, only 4 issues in. And he's teaming up with this like old priest.
You're talking about Kyle? Did you say Luke instead of Kyle?
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Oh, I love it so much that I don't know the name. Sorry, Kyle. And so when he, is that like going to be the structure of this of Kyle and this old priest going around to like help people with his powers?
I think anyone who's read my comics knows I'm not a big fan of status quos, so that is currently what the book is about, but it could evolve over time, much the same way that Invincible and Walking Dead have kind of evolved over time. But yeah, I mean, it's at its core, it's really just a story of Kyle Barnes trying to get back with his wife. This is a guy who has been plagued by demons since very early in his life, and it's every single thing that he's going to be doing with Anderson for the life of the series is going to be in an effort to figure out what his problem is and how he can fix it or manage it or maintain some kind of normal life in the face of it. But the fun part about that is that as he gets closer and closer to finding those answers, he's going to be brought deeper and deeper into a larger world that is, very dangerous and, that has world-ending ramifications that, he's very much at the center of, whether he wants to or not. So he's kind of pulling the thread on a sweater that he's not going to be too happy about.
Wow. And Paul, as I say to the astounding artist you have on the comic,
he's okay.
He's
pretty
all
good.
right.
Let's start watching this. I don't want to get the big head. All right.
But he's doing this thing where every so often there's these close-ups of like a face or a reaction shot or a gesture.
Micro panels.
Micro panels. There's technical terms for these things.
Yeah.
And so is that his style, or is that you trying a new approach?
Well, as we were developing the television show concurrently with the comic, one of the things that happened from that was, when I'm writing for television, people can give a nod or make some kind of a gesture that is picked up by the audience but doesn't really take up a lot of space. And you can't really do that in comics. And so as I was bouncing back and forth between the two mediums, I realized this limitation in comics that, I thought it would be a fun thing to try, doing your comic book page and then essentially adding little inconsequential panels, to that storytelling structure so that, you're kind of, I'm hoping that, the audience is, reading the comic and then looking at those little panels and it's adding time without adding a ton of panels. And so that was something that Paul and I developed together to try and just expand the kind of, just the moment that you can do in a comic book.
And you mentioned the TV show, which is on Cinemax.
Yes.
Hopefully
will be on Cinemax.
Hopefully will be on Cinemax.
Yeah,
do you have
shooting
any?
a pilot very soon.
Okay, that's the next update you have for that?
Yeah, we have our dates. I don't know if I'm allowed to publicly talk about them, but we're doing casting right now. Okay. So that's really exciting. There should be some news on that eventually.
Cool.
As there is. But yeah, it's a real exciting time for me because the Walking Dead spinoff and the Outcast pilot have aligned in a weird way schedule-wise, so that there's a casting meeting here and a casting meeting here, and we're meeting directors here and meeting directors here, and sometimes I'm I don't remember which show they were talking about with these people, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, if something doesn't work out for the Walking Dead one, you can always cast them in the Outcast.
There have been times where they've been well, what about this line producer? Can we? Oh yeah, we already looked into them for this show. They're not available, and so that's happened a few times.